Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 113 of the Self-Publishing Roundtable, the podcast for indie authors by indie authors, where we discuss today's topics and issues that matter to the business of the self-published author. Filling in for moderator Wade Finnegan, who couldn't be here this evening, I am indie author Xavier Granville, and with me not is Michelle Reed, who for some reason just didn't show up. Luckily, we still have Liam Kingman joining us.
Maybe.
Maybe he might be frozen.
Is he in Canada?
No, he's worse. He's in Maine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's in either Dark Shadows or Stephen King zone. So yeah, spooky things are probably going on with his internet. So yeah, joining us as well is author Robert Chaz Shute of allthatchaz.com.
Hi, everybody. It's lovely to see you again, my little Pikachu friend.
Pikachu.
I chose you. And also joining us tonight is the lovely Erica Conroy.
Hi.
Hi.
Greetings from across the world. My God, you're green. It's wonderful.
Yeah, we love New Zealand.
Soon.
John Monk says yo yo. That sounds something that he would not say. Yeah, so to everyone watching us live on selfpublishingroundtable.com, we encourage you to leave questions and comments on the chat, and we'll do our best to get to your comments and questions and get them into the conversation. At the end of the show, please take a moment to leave us a review and on iTunes or whatever social media. Give us a share on Twitter and all that stuff. Every social media share helps to keep the show viable with bunny things, but bunny quotes, viable, and we appreciate all your efforts. Great. Now that it's done, yeah, Liam's still gone, but we will start off by unveiling his giant list of topics, because we realized that we didn't have anything to talk about this week, and I just sent out the the request for the SPRT team to kind of come up with some ideas, and Liam probably about 10 minutes later just responded with a large list of things that I tried to organize them in a certain manner that'll kind of work, but yeah, we will see what all we'll get through, and hopefully Liam will join us back on again. Erica, you've inherited a cat. Great.
Yeah, it's neighbor's cat.
I love cat share.
Yeah, time sharing cats is awesome. I don't have to pay for him.
Oh, he's pretty.
You bold,
He's a bit
beautiful
dim.
cat.
It looks kind of judgy, but okay.
What cat doesn't, though?
True, yes. Anyway, we have a list of topics that give us a peek into the snake pit of Liam's mind. So let's whip through that puppy.
Yeah, so I know both Eric and we seen on his list that he wanted to talk about author website optimization, but since both of us currently are doing overhauls on both of our blogs, and I thought that it would be a good point to bring up just what are the crucial elements that are definitely needed on your author's website, just the little things that are crucial for people to be able to go to your site and immediately know who you are, what you do, how to subscribe, all those things. So obviously, starting off, mailing list.
Right. Oh, and Liam's back, or is threatening to come back.
I dare you to come back, Liam.
Ooh. That was the most aggressive I've ever seen XB. It only lasted about a second.
Yeah, I know. Because then I saw his message saying, sorry, I was resetting my router. I'm like, internets.
Well, John Monk asked a great question. Pop-up to join the mailing list, or no pop-up to join the mailing list?
Yes.
People say they hate mailing lists, hate pop-ups, I should say.
Yep.
But So what? It's that's just too bad because they work. Pop-ups
It's effective.
are awesome. It's kind of like cliffhangers. People say they hate cliffhangers, but they come back every week. So you curse the last few seconds of The Walking Dead, thinking, "Oh, how could they leave it there?" But you'll be back next Sunday, sucker. So as far as pop-ups go, a lot of people say they hate them, but doesn't really matter because the stats show otherwise. I would recommend Sumo Me for your pop-up options because it is a really easy way to and mostly free way to optimize your website and your seductive come-ons to anybody who traipses across your website.
Ooh, that's saucy. What was the name of that? Sumo Me?
Sumo Me.
Sumo.
SUMOME.
Yeah, I just grabbed the link, so I'll share it.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's it is one of those things that like people do hate pop-ups, but I'm a victim of doing the pop-up sign up just because it's been popped up so many times and I frequent the site long enough that I'm like, okay, fine, I will subscribe and I won't ever get this pop-up ever again.
Yeah. Well, as long as your
I
cookies.
beat you into submission.
Yeah. You won. You won, website.
So what dragged you back to that same website over and over again that could be effective? It wasn't the porn.
No, it always will be content, no matter what it is. So like whether it be a writer blog or if it's a just like the one website that I frequent a lot is bigfinish.com, which do a series of audiobooks and audio plays, and so they often will give a little pop-up just saying, hey, if you subscribe to the mailing list, you'll probably get something in your mailbox about a pre-release or like the first half hour of whatever audiobook that they're coming out next month, blah blah blah. So yeah, I fall victim to those things if they are enticing you with something. There has to be something that they're offering you, and it has to be a good enough thing that obviously if they're going to be bugging you that often, that you want to click it, and eventually you're not annoyed by the pop-up.
And bigfinish.com. I could have sworn that was a porn site, but okay.
I know they often get accused of that as well. Like, what's with the name? Apparently, Stephen Moffat, the producer of Doctor Who, came up with the name.
For reals?
For reals.
He's gonna stop coming up with stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's unrelated to Big Finish or anything, but yeah.
Yeah, it's true, Moffat.
I agree.
Matt Morris says, "I'm here for the stalking." Shudder.
Well, so am I. So am I.
Yeah.
It's just easier when you're on the show.
Krishan
Hi,
says,
Robin.
I like how Krishan says, "I double dog dare you to come back, Liam."
Oh, I'm here.
For now.
I noticed on Liam's site, where he has his newsletter, he's got this giant picture of a no spam sign. Just, it's huge. And I think that's pretty awesome. I mean, on mine, I just say, I don't like spam. Spam is black. I mean, that's interesting, but the big giant no spam sign, much more entertaining. Especially if you're a fan of like Monty Python and stuff like that.
That's what I was going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think as much as a lot of people talk about that, where engaging people to the mailing list is as important as getting them to it. Like directing them to it with a joke, as much as securing them the next week in that mailing list with another joke. Just finding ways to not only there's the hook, the line, and the sinker. You got to do all three simultaneously, in one fashion or another.
I just emailed them the info on the book. That's all my newsletters are. Big giant pretty picture of the cover though. And the blurb, and here it is, yay! Buy it, or it's free, or whatever's. Just get it. What else do you need to say in a newsletter?
Well, let's talk about that. What do you use to entice more people to join your newsletter? Besides, well, I guess people use free books. Some people do free prequels. And nonfiction authors do a lot of white papers and, here's the 10 tips that you need to not die in the next 20 minutes, that sort of thing.
I've seen short stories used quite a bit as well.
Yeah, short stories, flash fiction, definitely. And yeah, likewise with nonfiction, yeah, it'll be single little, a top 10 list of things, or just I do subscribe to a lot of gardening websites and garden tips and stuff like that. So a lot of times you'll see that they'll do just an email that's all about soil amendments. Then the next week's all about worms versus natural composting, blah blah blah. So yeah, it's when it's those types of things. You're trying to send out small amounts of crucial information. So if you're doing that nonfiction thing, so say if you're doing a diet book, the book itself has a plethora of different types of ways to approach healthy eating, but the individual emails might only say, the 5 beneficial things about coconut oil or whatever.
Yeah, nonfiction is so much easier selling that way. I'm actually planning to do a nonfiction book pretty soon, and it is so much easier to sell it if you just delve into a tip sheet kind of thing that way. Whereas short stories can be a harder sell, although maybe it's a better way of, or a very specific way of targeting your audience. Because if they'll go for a short story in your series, then they'll definitely go for the novel.
Oh, definitely, and that's just like ultimately, that's what's nice about both with nonfiction of having those short little lists of information versus a short story or flash fiction for fiction authors, because no matter what, it's about small amounts of time invested, but short return, because so that way you're immediately able to get someone hooked with only having to make them read a limited or small amount, but in that small amount you've got them as long as you've done that small amount of body of writing effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And did you guys I don't know if you want to share your website yet, Xavier. I took a look at it yesterday, and what I liked about it was it's very clean, and there's a lot of great use of white space. It actually reminded me of some really upscale Squarespace templates that way. Oh,
thanks. Yeah, I used Divi as far as a WordPress template. But yeah, the URL is theideapool.org. It's still under construction, but everyone is, it's out there now. So internets, have fun. And I think, white space is very important. And as a designer for covers, I hate white space, and I often, I'll immediately turn my canvas black so that way I can go from dark out to white. I'll focus on whatever the dark space is, because that tends to be what your eye is not paying attention to. So once you kind of eliminate that, then you can focus on whatever your eyes are being drawn to. But with a website, I think ultimately you want things to be clean and seamless. I think I'm still playing with it as far as how things are going, but ultimately what you're wanting to do is achieve a level of ease-free clickability for people. It has to be seamless of just how easy it is for people to navigate through your website. Make it as idiot-proof as possible.
It's because they're always building better idiots.
Don't make
they're in a lab.
the user think. I mean, make it Yeah, don't make them
Yeah.
think. That's the basic tenet for really good and easy to use web design.
Yeah, I think often you can spot a web design that's not working probably because they give too many options as opposed to kind of leading people in. Uh, when you had me take a look at your website, it was loading a bit slowly, and you said you're going to work on that. How does one work on that? How do you speed up your author site?
No, I'm wondering if it's trying to load everything at the same time and then show the page, because there is an option for that within the theme, where as opposed to load the site and then individually load the graphics and load it, what it tries to do is pause ahead of time so that way when the website does officially load, everything is rasterized already.
Okay.
Do you optimize the images as well?
And that's what I meant. Like, I have to make sure that the images are web optimized so that way everything does speedily load in that way. So it's not just constantly bringing things off of the internal server.
So when you say optimize the images, what exactly are you meaning by that?
Erica?
So it's like,
No, I know.
do you mean that it's happy on mobile as well as desktop? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, and you have to make sure that they're a correct dimension that's not going to be hogging up the space as far as how long it's going to be taking.
So what you can do is in a lot of not websites, in a lot of image programs like Photoshop, there's an option to optimize the image, which basically compresses it down to either lower resolution, or you can set it so it's only at 80% of the quality or something like that, but still at a good enough quality or resolution that it'll still look good on your website. It just means that the file's much smaller, so it should in theory load faster on the website.
Yeah, and there's tons of different file formats and compression types that you can get into from there, but yeah, ultimately it is one of those things you have to kind of play with. And now that I've kind of seen where it is at right now, like I was trying to go for as high of a quality of a compression with images as possible, but now I'm looking at how slow things are going. All right, okay, I'm going to have to adjust for that.
Okay, and I seem to remember somebody saying something to me about tagging images. A lot of people don't tag images, but if you can do that, it can really help with SEO. So, for instance, on your website, X, you've got pre-made covers, and if you tagged images with keywords like pre-made covers, sci-fi, etc., that might help with your discoverability. Is that correct?
Yeah, all that meta tagging stuff. I haven't even approached that stuff yet, but no, definitely any kind of SEO optimization that you can do within the tagging of the individual image, that's just another layer of accessibility, like you said.
Right. Do you think anybody needs a webmaster anymore?
I don't know what that means.
What is a webmaster? Well, I don't think. It used to be people had webmasters for their technical expertise. Then they would hire a webmaster. Then the webmasters were always nomads who disappeared in the night.
It's like, is this like a dungeon master for the web?
Yeah, well, they got your passwords, and then they went off on a bender and ended up in rehab, and you never heard from them again. But I think if you are an author who is super busy with a bunch of other stuff and you want somebody else to take care of some of these issues, I can see where it would be useful as a time management, get a virtual assistant sort of thing, and not the old style webmaster where it's a technical issue so much as a time management option.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's kind of gone by the wayside, where websites used to have to pretty much be coded, and now with like WordPress and different design programs, you can do it a lot easier and more effectively without doing really the code for it. You can kind of just use the templates and use the plugins for it.
I really like. Sorry, what was that, Erica?
I like to mutilate my websites. I might start off with a template or something, but it's totally mine by the time I'm finished.
Well, I really enjoy WordPress, although I would caution people to get too crazy about plugins, because there are a lot of plugins that can really slow down your site, or they present security issues. So if you have a WordPress site, there's a free plugin that everybody should have, and that is WordFence. I use that for security, and I got brute force attacked a couple times in the last couple months.
Sorry about that.
No, I blame you. But WordFence dealt with it really well, and I'm using the free version. I'm not using the paid version. And for security, WordFence on WordPress is awesome. I also have a Squarespace site, which it's a bit more expensive, but for business reasons I keep it, and it's the designs are really awesome, and you can also build it out for lots of other things like selling on the site and scheduling and all sorts of things. It's not, last time I checked, it wasn't particularly podcast friendly. WordPress is awesome if you have a podcast, you want to host a podcast from your site, or not host a podcast from your site, but put podcasts on your site. You can do it really easily with WordPress. WordPress does it really well. Squarespace, last time I checked, was not as podcast friendly. Oh, and speaking of that led me into the next question. Was John Monk again asking the cutting questions, cutting deep to the bone, right through the meat?
How dare you cut me?
Sell your book from your site or no? What's your answer to that, Erica?
Me?
Yeah.
I tried it once upon a time, early on. I think I was using Gumroad, and I got fuck all sales. I think it was a lot harder to push. Pardon?
Did you have a good mailing list to work with, though?
No, like I said, I was just starting out, so it was obviously the wrong time to try it. But I think it's harder to push people to something else as well as what they're already on. They might already be on Amazon. I mean, a lot of people are resistant to signing up to new things or whatever it is. And I think if they see an Amazon link, they're much more inclined to just go to Amazon. So, in my opinion, I'm just going to stick with Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all the other ones that are out there, because there just seems to be, what's the word? That people might trust them more, that the book is from there and not from some little uppity self-published author's site. No matter how pretty my site might be, there's just more legitimacy to get it off Amazon than it is to get it off my website, I think.
It's unfortunate. I don't think enough people know Gumroad yet, because they've been in the direct sell game for quite a while, but it's still, I don't know, there's something about the name, even Gumroad, that doesn't quite inspire confidence that, it's totally legitimate to use. But, I do business with people every day through PayPal, and I still run into that 10% who go, oh, PayPal, what? I don't have a PayPal account. You don't need a PayPal account. I'll send you the secure link. Don't worry about that. And they're still reluctant. But if you've got the one-click buy on Amazon, you go click, 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 click.
Yeah, I know.
I think to answer John's question, I wouldn't consider selling straight from my website unless I had a huge mailing list to deal with.
Or you're J.K. Rowling.
Yes, and let me check. I'm not. Yet. So, I think I would not consider it until I have a lot of people to sell to who are interested in going straight to me. Unless I was doing some sort of really clever promotion. So, for instance, if I was writing a nonfiction book that was aimed at law firms, funeral parlors, the health sector, if I was doing something like that, which I kind of plan to do, that's one of my evil plans, then I can... and she's got the cat to stroke. I think that there could be opportunities there, but for most people in most situations with fiction, that's something that I'll let the SPP guys experiment with, and then watch how it works for them.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
there's.
Terry Constantine's essentially saying the same thing, that he has it on his website, and even when he's offering them even better discounts or the books that are free, people just aren't downloading it. I guess because you've got to actually drive them to your site.
Yeah.
As
Do you
opposed
think
to
it would be more
Amazon.
effective with like print if you're doing like an autograph author's copy or something more?
Yeah, that's my thought as well.
Yeah.
Like if there is some, for those that are either not either aware of Amazon and other things like that, like if there are, maybe your great aunt who wants to buy your book and they need to go to yourname.com in order to do it, that makes sense. If the idea of going on Barnes & Noble or Kobo or Amazon and downloading the Kindle or Kobo or whatever app and getting the digital copies too much, maybe the selling direct is definitely the route. But how many people do you know that are that technically declined?
Not really a bunch of ebook readers. So not the optimum audience.
No, exactly, and that you're definitely not catering to, who you should be catering to by doing that. So if you are going to be doing it at this point, I'd say do it as like as an extra thing, and like Liam said, if you're going to be doing autographed copies, that's a great way to do it. Promote it on your blog, on your website, and entice people by make that a part of your mailing list. Offer contests where people will get autographed copies, and if there is that much of a demand for that, then maybe introduce that on your website. But don't automatically just assume that people want autographed copies if you haven't sold copies.
There have been some authors who have done some really interesting experiments where they think outside the box in that regard. So Cory Doctorow comes to mind, where he would do print editions that were limited editions, and he had or has a pretty rabid fan base who wanted to get a really expensive edition. Like, if you're only going to sell 500 copies, then each one has to be polished. It has to arrive in its own box. Gold foil and possibly some weed in there. So there's.
What author was this?
Oh yeah, now you're interested.
The connection got better.
I remembered why I did this show. Ha!
But if you check out if you Google Cory Doctorow's history with limited editions, you might get some ideas there. But once again, we're talking not mainstream sort of what every author is willing to do, has time to do, or quite frankly has a mailing list. I mean, this really comes back to the mailing list of how many people do you have your mailing list, and how many valuable customers do you have on that mailing list, because not everyone on the mailing list, of course, is going to be a buyer. It really needs to be a very strong mailing list before you start thinking about any of this stuff. It's so irrelevant to most of us that we should probably move on to whatever is on the next question on that list.
Yes.
I was just going to add that, so basically what we're saying is minimum what you need on your website is just the pop-up to get people onto the mailing list. You don't need anything else.
Pop-up, other
Just pop-up.
yeah, definitely have the pop-up. Definitely have just a link itself. Just, make it easy for, if they do click away from that pop-up, make it just as easy for them to click on another link for that mailing list as well.
Also, do you think that people should include stalk buttons on their websites? By that I mean Here's me on Twitter. Here's me on Facebook. Here's how to contact me.
Oh,
by
oh,
email.
okay. Stalk me. Okay, I didn't understand what you meant by that earlier. Stalk me
Sorry.
buttons.
Yeah, stalk you buttons.
Yeah. Okay. I think if that is who you are as an author, perhaps if you are trying to invite that level of
Stalker.
engagement, yeah, I don't know. I'd say that would be ultimately your call as an individual, as to how much involvement you want outsiders to be bringing in onto your Facebook pages and otherwise.
I think that's a really good question. It's something I think I probably need to reevaluate, because when you first set up a website, your thing is, well, why wouldn't I want them to find me everywhere? Sure, Twitter, sure, Pinterest, sure, you know, G plus. Just kidding about G plus. Nobody's on G plus, but
You're funny, G plus.
That's adorable. I think, for instance, Twitter, I think, used to be more valuable to me, and now I don't think it's nearly as valuable as it was. I think a lot of readers do really enjoy having being able to contact writers directly about their work, and they expect a higher level of contact now than they used to. And I generally welcome that. I think that's awesome. If I could have the opportunity just to email one of my heroes, like William Goldman, for instance, who's way too old to and way too rich to bother with being on this internet nonsense.
But wouldn't you love it?
But it would be awesome to say, hey, thanks for all the inspiration, blah blah blah. So
yeah, thanks for the Princess Bride, man.
Exactly. I think it would be worthwhile to say that if you're actually on those platforms, if you're really active on those platforms, so for instance, a bunch of us has been very active on Twitter in the past and are less so now. If you're not actively engaging there and building your audience there, then don't send them to Twitter. And if you hate Facebook, don't be on Facebook. I think the only one that I would say is necessary of those would probably be the contact feature, so readers can talk directly to you if they want to.
Yeah, I think that no matter what, there has to be a kind of a line for either direct contact or indirect contact, because no matter what, there's going to be, if you get to that level of acclaim, like you said, you're not expecting to talk to William Goldman personally as much as you probably wouldn't expect to talk to Neil Gaiman personally or to Clive Barker personally. But
not until we kidnap them, that's right.
No, yes, but it's always nice to know that at least the line is out there, so you can get in contact with them.
Yeah, it just I think the other thing is, well, there's a level of contact that a mid-list author has with the readership that is actually much more intense than you would have if you're Stephen King. If Stephen King, nobody's going to get that email. But somebody like Chuck Palahniuk, who's I admire a lot of his writing, but I know that he uses a assistant who does all his internet interaction, and so that's not interaction at all. I'm not interested in talking to his assistant, although I'm sure he or she is a lovely person. So I'm just not going to bother. I
have reached out to them, and Chuck hasn't come on the show yet when I did reach out, so assistant can't be that good.
Well, at least that would be a good get. At least you might actually engage with the assistant at some point. I don't know, but it's just there's no value there. Like, that seems to me to be a fundamental misunderstanding of what internet contact really means. And the guy doesn't need it, and he has his own forum as well. So I don't know if he still does, but he used to have a thing where he was really engaging with writers a lot. But I'm not sure what happened with that. That might still be going on. I haven't looked into that for quite a long time. It's been a few years.
Yeah, it's Lit Reactor. He doesn't have as much of his own stuff that work with him that put a lot of content on there.
Right. So is that sort of like a forum or more of a magazine or both?
It's they have classes every now and again. It's more blog posts and just different information. They've got a lot of classes and stuff you can sign up. It's been about a year since I've been on there, but I do still get some stuff from them every once in a while.
Right. Well, on that, I think that if you, and this is one of those do as I say, don't do as I do things. If you are going to have an internet presence, you don't have to publish every day. I mean, because we all don't have the immense stamina and cojones of Matt Morris. But publishing regularly on your blog is a good way to go. So I had a blog that had a lot of attention because I was posting once and twice a day. I've since abandoned that pretty much. I occasionally will put a blog post up, but I don't have near the traffic I once did on that blog because I just feel like it has already accomplished what it was meant to do, and I'm kind of done with it. I started off with publishing every day and once or twice a day, and I got really good traffic. And then I got to the point where it's like, I'm only going to publish when I have something to say. And if I don't have anything new to say, or if there's no trenchant commentary that is absolutely needed, I have other avenues for that. So I'm going to use those other avenues, whether it be Facebook or getting on a podcast, because I do a lot of podcasts. So that's
what you talk about, Willis.
It's a lot, yeah. It's that's for me. I'm not saying don't blog, but for me, it was time to move on to a different medium.
Well, I think it's like blog when it's relevant. I think if you have a reason and the desire to be reaching out, and you have, it makes sense at the time when you are writing that blog article or whatever it is, then sure, do it. But if it does become a chore or a time suck, then yeah, definitely you need to be investing that time into where you are productive. And if you stop being productive, then move on to the greener pastures, something else.
Yeah, it's true, because everything we do is an opportunity cost. If you're doing one thing, you're not doing something else.
Yeah, no, that's the only major resource that we as writers have at this point in the digital era. We don't have to worry about how many trees that we're cutting down when we open up Scrivener, and just as much we don't have to worry about running out of ink. What we do have to worry about is how much time that we are spending on these individual things, and potentially how can we cut down on those times. Whether it be the writing end, the marketing end, the website end, all these different things.
TV.
Yeah, or the Netflix end, or whatever full season of whatever it is dropping that weekend that you can't avoid. Blah blah blah.
That's interesting stuff, because there's so much you get into with time management, but it really comes down to unplugging from the internet for one thing, because Facebook can be such a time suck. I got out of my home office today and went to a coffee shop just because I don't trust using Wi-Fi in a coffee shop. So I got a couple more chapters done because I just felt kind of discombobulated today, and I needed to get out of the house.
Yeah, my actual outside office, I've got one that's a 20-minute walk away from home. It does not have any internet connection, and I've even tried going through the Wi-Fi to see if anyone in the building has open Wi-Fi, and they don't. So yeah, I get work done there.
Yeah, it's really worthwhile to hang out with the Amish.
We don't have them here.
I've got
you are
lots.
missing them.
I guess the other aspect, I mean, I was just I caught something from Tim Ferriss, who is quite the efficiency expert among his many talents. And one of the things is that don't answer a phone call when you don't recognize the call display. You can surprise somebody else, but if somebody's surprising you, you're wasting your time. And I thought about every time I pick up the phone, it's somebody who's offering me free duct cleaning service or something, or some introductory offer. And my ducts are fine, or they're clogged with pestilence, but they're out of the way and I can't see it.
Don't you talk about my ducts.
So the other aspect of that is energy management. Are you getting enough sleep so you can get up early enough to go do stuff? I was talking to Matt Morris about that a lot this week. How there's a guy who is really busy, and one of the things that helped him out was establishing a bedtime. His mom was right. Have a bedtime.
Oh yeah, that was the one thing that you guys were talking about on the blab before things dissolved into just talking about The Martian.
We talked about The Martian for about 40 minutes straight. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was fine. I'm like, as much as I don't care about spoilers to something that I probably don't care about being spoiled. Oh boy. Yeah, but no, I love that you guys brought that up. Like setting an alarm, not to wake up, it's to when you got
to go to bed.
Go the fuck to sleep.
That's right. Yeah, if you set your alarm at night telling you when to go to bed, then you don't need the alarm in the morning.
Train yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and I find that too. No matter what, I find even if I stay up to the crack of dawn, I'll wake up at 9, because that's as far as I will be able to sleep, just because that's the time that I wake up, no matter what.
Well, that brings up something that I have talked about in the past, but it's been a while, and I think we have some new people that I haven't talked to about it yet. So I want to take a moment before we get into the next topic to talk to you all about our Lord and Savior.
Great.
When I talk about managing energy, one of the things that is really helpful for me as when I think about either problems or plots is the hypnagogic state. And the hypnagogic state is that time that you have between sleeping and waking. And if you don't wake up to an alarm clock, you can extend that short time. It can be 15 seconds, it can be a couple minutes. But every morning when I wake up, I have this time. So I ask myself a question before I go to bed. And in that hypnagogic state, for about 30 seconds to 180 seconds, I am a goddamn genius. So I lay there before I get up, and I feel like some of my best ideas for plot developments, for twists and turns, for solving problems, it happens in that 2-minute space between being awake and being fully asleep. And if you haven't tried this, you can train yourself to do it. I lucid dream as well, and that can be very helpful. I don't do it consistently. My wife asked me the other night, how'd you sleep? I was like, I did not sleep well because I was lucid dreaming all night, it seemed, and it doesn't feel like I really slept. So I have the kind of busy brain thing. But
yep, I know that feel.
You get that focus in the hypnagogic state, it can be incredibly valuable. And it's something to try to train yourself over time. But it helps if you don't wake up to an alarm, and it helps if you focus on what your question is going to be when you wake up as you fall asleep. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the hypnagogic state. Next topic. Just a little clap.
Yeah.
Yes, I am also a fan of John Hughes movies. Thank you very much.
Yes, and no, I noticed that in the chat. I'm pretty sure you brought up the Breakfast Club earlier on. I saw
Does Barry Manilow know you've stolen his wardrobe? Yeah.
No, and
Sometime
I think
we're just gonna have to do a movie quote night. You know that, okay?
Oh yeah, movie quote night has to happen. Yeah, I definitely agree as far as the whole hypnagogic state, like, and just that that's why a lot of authors or writers will put like a notepad by the side of your bed. You do have to try to capitalize on the time that you're dreaming, because we as humans, the way our brains operate, it's we're constantly telling stories throughout our day, and then at some point at night when we fall asleep, our brains take over and we start telling stories to ourselves. So it's you got to capitalize on that point, because as much as we're trying to appeal to our readers with what we're writing, you got to first appeal to you as the writer before you ever write it.
Yeah, and you have to be aware too of the things that can really screw things up. So, for instance, yesterday I got into a really bad mood, and it screwed up my morning this morning, so I wasn't as effective this morning as I wanted to be. And if I write too late at night, it can interfere with my sleep that night, and then I'm useless the next morning. So I really have to, a lot of my life is scheduled with a bunch of, Google Calendar entries, and everything is programmed, but part of the program has to be about energy management, not just time management.
Yeah.
Anyway, did you guys want to talk covers or street teams? I think that was the next thing John Monk wanted to introduce, and I realized
that has nothing to do with John Monk. That was on the list. I just put two out there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're
I'm looking in the chat, and I just saw John Monk, and let's all pause a moment to say, hi, John. How you doing?
Hi, John.
Something.
We love you, John. All right. Now that we've said that.
I'm gonna tackle street teams, because at this day and age, what the fuck does that mean? I know street team, the term had some relevance at a certain point, but I think there needs to be a new term for this, and that's I think like Patreon is doing a good job with that, as far as the people who really do support you and get your word and name out there.
Patreon got hacked though.
Ha! Good. Serves him right.
Okay.
No, I don't believe that, but I think that no matter what, when you're exposing yourself like that and there's that much of a money flow, how can you expect not to be hacked? That's why all the big companies like Microsoft Gaming and Sony were hacked and stuff like that. It's a large amount of transactions being going on. It's no wonder that Amazon is not hacked all the time.
Yeah, they must have amazing security. That's true. But I'm not quite sure what your objection to the term street team or what's it called?
Well, because nowadays the street team will consist of many different factors that goes beyond just hitting the streets. So hitting the streets nowadays is going online as much as it is conversing with people on a day-to-day basis, or otherwise getting the word out in person. So to me, what street teams means a lot more than just that nowadays. And if you're going to be relying upon that, you have to try to take advantage of that as many angles as possible, because these people that are going to be essentially working to spread the word out there, you want to make sure that they are not wasting their time by making sure that they are doing as good of a job of spreading the word as much as you are spreading the word. And you want to make sure that you're not wasting any time as well by getting the wrong people or etc.
Right.
Spam all the things.
I think when I look at the people who help me the most, there's the people who spread the word, whom I do not have enough of. There's the people who I've got who help me with like the beta team, like with editorial stuff. A bunch of them are people I know actually in real life. They're not people that I only know through the internet. There's a lot of people I know through the internet who I would like to hang out with, and unfortunately, we're all spread out way too far. But it's kind of awesome to have the support any way you get it. I just find that the people that I know personally in real life, when I actually do leave the bunker and go outside, I understand it's fall now out there. Then they're a bit more invested in the work to a degree. So the people I know in real life are the ones who help me more with editorial, and people online are the ones who tend to spread the word, the super fans. God, all the super fans. Jesus, they're awesome. It's amazing how there are those readers who really get what you do, and you think like, oh yes, I've found my tribe. These are the people who really grok it. It's
exactly.
when you hit that stride.
Well, and no matter what, like that's what I'm talking about. Like street team nowadays, not just the people that are spreading the word. It's you got your super fans. You have the people that are doing your online spread around. There's the people that are just talking to you about your stuff in the public library. Blah blah blah. There's so many different levels to that nowadays, thanks to the digital medium. That when I think about getting a street team together, I start wondering what exactly does that mean, because there's so many ways to approach that.
Can they be like your ARC readers as well? Your regular ARC readers?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yes, as much as the same with your ARC readers and your or betas. However you want to do it. Like no matter what, these people that are engaged in the process of your career, they are your street teams. So it's really a matter of question of like of how you define street team nowadays.
Well, I define it as the people who help me out, however they help me out, and I try to nurture those people as much as possible. Some of those people I do touch base with them online, and we chat, and I tell them I tell them lies like your life is not as miserable as you think it is, and take the gun from your mouth.
Stupid things like "Don't worry, it's gonna be okay."
It's gonna be okay. Yeah, bullshit. And they appreciate that. So, touching base and just being a human, being friendly, being a friend to a bunch of those people has really. That's one of the uses of, beyond just the mailing list, that's one of the uses of having a contact where people can actually contact you. And initially they talk to you about your work, and then you kind of get to know them a bit better.
Just suck them in.
So people talk about the negative side of stalking. There are good sides. I think
you can only hope.
Yeah. The other thing is nurturing those street teams. People attract them through authors attract street teams through contests, through asking, through Goodreads. I know some people have found through book giveaways, that sort of thing. And one of the things that I think, to get somebody on your side, as they're interested in reading your work and interested in you and interested in what you're going to do next, those sorts of things. One of the things that I always look to reward my street teams, I don't have enough money to pay anybody for their services in this regard, so they end up in my books. So when you see a character with permission, of course. Don't kill anybody without their permission. Mm-hmm. But I think you'll find a bunch of people in my books that are in whatever apocalypse they find themselves in, and they get a name from somebody on my beta team.
Do they also die?
Well, if you know what I write.
Not the person on your street team. Just to be clear.
Very few survive. Not everyone dies, but very few survive, because that kind of suits my worldview.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. Well, hey, that was one of
my Irish poetry.
Yes. And that was one of Liam's questions on the massive list that we've barely even taken a chunk out of. But yeah, one of them, when to kill off a main character. I have this problem all the time because I find that urge where it's time to kill off that character. I'm a sadistic bastard like that. Most of my books tend to start off with, well, everything looks fine, and then somebody dies.
Yeah. Well, I think main character is tricky, but I think, and we should talk about that. Before we talk about that, I want to mention that a lot of times the weakness of a book is that we kill off a character thinking that they're expendable. And my philosophy is that there are no red shirts in good fiction. Everybody is the hero of their own movie. Everybody else is extras. So when anybody dies, and I think you see this a lot with Stephen King, where you'll actually get a bit of backstory. You go, oh, this seems like a really likable person with an interesting background in being a cobbler, and oh, they're dead. And not that you need to overdo it too much with making somebody fall in love with a character just to kill him off in the first scene, but no character knows that they're a red shirt. Everybody thinks that they're the ones who are going to survive, and that's what makes it more interesting for the reader. Is you're getting them to hallucinate and identify with this character. As far as killing off main characters, that's much more complex because you kill off a main character. Oh, Liam's back. You kill off a main character that can kill your series.
Yep. Definitely don't kill off your protagonist. That's your like.
It's been done. Buffy, Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, this is true. But then at the same time,
they all came back. Yes.
Yeah, especially with Sherlock Holmes, because I think that was one of the first examples of like the prequel where he went back and did Hound of the Baskervilles, where it was an earlier tale of Holmes.
Right.
And that was after he killed him off.
Yeah, he needed more money, and he referred to he didn't consider that his best work, and referred to it as mere entertainments.
Of course.
Yes, because he was much more literary than these funny mysteries of a man in a silly hat. But as far as killing off a main character. If you're sick of a series, that would be one way to go back to it. Or, you can obviously bring people back depending on your genre, but I don't know. I'd be very reluctant to kill off a main character unless I have a really good reason.
Yeah.
And that said, I have to say that when I look back on the stuff that I've written, I often find a really good reason.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and yeah, and I think no matter what, it has to be for specific reasons that either one will keep the audience moving, or to keep the characters moving, because both should be happening, and if not, at least one of them. So if it's going to be that moment where the plot stops, but like the characters stop because they're grieving, but it's the reader now that is invested in what's going on. That's one thing, but and then in the reverse where the plot goes on, but the reader is kind of still reeling from whatever just happened. I think you have to kind of find these reasons why these things are happening, no matter what. So, like for an example, in Dinosaur Noir #1. Within the first 2 chapters, the main character's partner is immediately killed off, and that has not only ramifications throughout the first book, but it still haunts him throughout all the way to the 3rd book, and he's always being plagued by visions of his dead partner coming back.
Right.
So,
very Maltese Falcon there, actually.
Well, that's the whole point. It's the first book is very Maltese Falcon as much as the second book is very Chinatown.
Right.
Um,
I guess
but
the thing is, it comes back to partly is what kind of genre you're writing and what the expectations of the reader is, because you don't want to betray the reader. One of my favorite letters I got from a reader was, "Have you ever thought about writing happily ever after endings?" And
Did you say I don't write romance? That's when you can't kill him.
That's when you can't kill him, yeah.
Yeah.
My reply actually was, I don't write happily ever after. I write satisfying endings, or I try to write true endings. So if there's a victory, it may be a victory that's mixed with failure, or it's
the cost was very high to get there.
I want there to be a twist. I want there to be a surprise for the reader. So I'm not philosophically against happily ever after. I'll write it if it feels true. It's just that I write mostly apocalyptic stuff, and so it doesn't feel true to have a happily ever after ending. I saw something really interesting today about I Am Legend, the Will Smith movie. There was an alternate ending for that movie.
I've seen it.
Spoiler alert, everybody. At the end of it, he sacrifices himself so the Cure can go on to save what's left of the human race. And when you say save, I mean that's sort of very relative in this case, because most everybody's dead anyway. He keeps on saying, "I can fix this," but it gets beyond a point where the law of diminishing returns has definitely kicked in, and most of the human race is wiped out. The alternate ending that they didn't show in theaters was very much closer to Last Man on Earth, the Vincent Price one that was the original movie based on I Am Legend, and it's this thing where it's much more nuanced, because the doctor who's been trying to save the human race by killing off all these kind of vampire/zombie creatures, he realizes that it gets back to the title, which is I Am Legend. I'm the one I am the terror of these vampire creatures. I am guilty of trying to murdering hundreds of these things that do feel and do think and are sentient beings, and I have heavy guilt in my heart before he meets his death. That didn't play well with the focus group, I guess. I don't know. I don't think
it's because it's such a literary ending. It begs a question in the end.
Yeah, but to tell you the truth, I didn't think the resolution that they found satisfied me either, because it felt...
It was worse. It was much worse.
But that is an excellent example, I think, of remaining true. Like, if they'd remained true to the source material, for me, that would have been a much more successful conclusion.
Yeah, and I always come back to Shutter Island, and likewise, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Shutter Island. Basically, the entire time it's all been in his head, and the investigation he's been investigating is his own. The fact that he had witnessed his wife murder his three children by drowning them, and he keeps regressing his own memories and thinks he's a private investigator that's investigating this other investigation. But the book and the movie ended the same sense that both the Leonardo DiCaprio character, the main protagonist in the book, has the option of hopefully either retaining his memories or regressing back to the fact that he does not know who he is. And in the book, he fully regresses, and so when he is lobotomized, it's very tragic because they couldn't do anything for him. They tried so many times to get this guy to come back to reality, but he just keeps regressing the fact that this horrible thing happened to him. But in the movie, they lay hints that when the character is being led off to be lobotomized, that he is aware of the fact. So he has remembered it, but has chosen to die a good man, as opposed to regressing and then being untrue to whoever he is built up in his head. So you can see how much that the literary ending it begs the question of, did he regress or did he not? Whereas with the film, it's like, no, he wanted to die. And it's a very different message.
And which did you find more satisfying?
To me, I like the book more because I like asking that question. Because no matter what, that's what's going to kind of plague you afterward. That's what's going to beg you to maybe read it again, or in that case, watch the film because you want to see what that angle is. And so, with the film, it kind of gave more of an answer, whereas the book kind of leaves it open. But ultimately, it's the book I always come back to.
And with that, I hate to say it, but we are at 11:08. We're past our hour.
Exactly.
But you know what? I wanted to say that Liam coming up with a list that we could go through. This was really good and useful. So
I could do something to help.
We moved through some stuff, and X and Erica laid some science on us that we could go back and take notes for. That was good with the website stuff. That was awesome.
Hey, and you laid some sleep science on us.
Yes, the whole woo-woo bullshit stuff. Yeah, that's awesome.
Woo-woo.
Has your tea kicked in yet, Robert?
I beg your pardon?
Your tea, your sleepy tea, has that kicked in yet?
I am working on it. It hasn't kicked in yet. The dosage is not high enough.
Oh.
Need a bigger cup.
Yep.
Yeah, bigger cup.
Emo tea.
So you want to wrap it up for the night, X?
Yes, we shall. For everyone watching live on selfpublishingroundtable.com, we appreciate you all coming out in the comments, and we will hit you with a line for the after party afterwards. And I hate doing this because I can't throw it to me, so someone has to say goodnight, internets.
No. Erica, did you want to plug your website or something before you go?
I fell off.
What?
No, you're still there.
No, I did fall off. I had to log back in. So,
Okay.
Sorry, what was that, Robert?
I said, is there something you want to promote or plug or otherwise, let people know about?
Well, I guess I could plug my website since that's one of the few that you guys haven't looked at. It's ericaconroy.com.
I was there this
and,
afternoon.
I'm
You know
launching.
that.
Pardon me?
X, you're talking right over. I couldn't hear the website. What's that again?
God damn you, X! Okay, so the website's ericaconroy.com, and I'm hitting publish on a new book tonight, and it's on the website under coming soon, so if anyone's interested in that. And yes, I do make my own covers, so yay.
Excellent. Congratulations. And Liam, anything you want to put a plug into?
Good night, internets.
Perfect.
Taken.
Robert Chaz shoot at allthatchaz.com, correct?
Yes, allthatchaz.com, 2 Z's if you're nasty, or 2 Z's if you're something else, I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
2 Z's if you're Canadian, eh?
2 Z's if you're Canadian. I'm going to crack my neck again just for you. Ready?
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. The podcast must stop.